Alrighty, time for round 5 of this league. We are currently 3-1, with the one being a 1-up, where we scoop the match, which is always classic. Can't complain with the turn 1 Delver. And we even get to probe first to see if that's actually a good idea or not. Forgotten Cave, so that's... Burn usually plays more of that than like Drake deck, but I'm still willing to pay 2 life to probe on turn 1. Yes, it is indeed Burn. So I'll go write these down. So honestly, with our pretty land heavy hand, it's not looking so great. I really needed like a daze to like counter a Thermal Alchemist or something here. Since we're probably going to take 1,000,000 damage from it. Oh, the Searing Blaze. Honestly, I'm not too unhappy with Searing Blaze. I mean, obviously I'm not ecstatic either, but it's not the worst thing that could happen. Now we could preordain to try hit a daze, but I think having multiple creatures out to try and get Ninja going is a good idea. Like if they just play Keldon Marauders, for example, to block the bear, we're not really getting anywhere. So let's just see what happens next. There is the Keldon Marauders as fairly expected. So I'm thinking, since they have a Thermal Alchemist, I'm probably going to have to just chump block with the Phantasmal Bear on this Marauders, since Bear isn't going to get in anyway. So if I, get in there with Miscreant, get Ninja. So we're actually really soft to the opponent hitting a land and Stagger Shocking Ninja. But they have enough things going on that honestly, we sort of need to take risks to win the game. We're already at 14, we're going to be at 13 after this dies. We need to draw into like Spell Stutter Sprites and even like Vapor Snags to bounce the Thermal Alchemist before it can deal us tons of damage. We need to buy time. So I think on this occasion, since we already got our Ninja out, I'm gonna go dig for days. Well, this is basically what I wanted, right? So put days in my hand, draw Spell Stutter Sprite, since I think that will be the best card the following turn, and Delver after that, since we don't actually, I wouldn't have been able to flip if if some kind of fairy was following the Delver anyway. So okay, so they didn't play anything pre-combat, and I'm just like trading off this Phantasmal Bear seems like a good shout, since it's just basically gain 3 life, and 1 blue mana gain 3 life is a fine card in this matchup, especially when I'm drawing extra cards. The dazing the Thermal Alchemist seems like a generally good idea if that's what they go for. If they just play like a Lightning Bolt on Ninja, then I think we're in a reasonable amount of trouble. Okay, I think this is fine, and hopefully with the power of Preordain and Ninjas, we can find an answer to Stagger Shock, whether that answer is a Snap or a Vapor Snag, something that isn't going to get us horribly blown out. Although obviously, after enough cards are drawn, it doesn't matter that much if they get a 2-for-1 with the Stagger Shock. Well, there's a Snap and Fairy Miscreant. So given that we have 1 Fairy Miscreant here, I'm inclined to keep it. I think what I'm going to do is like just lay out both Miscreants and that will set me up to being able to spell stutter Sprite the Stagger Shock if they, don't hit a land next turn. But even if they do, they also need to play at main phase, otherwise they'll obviously get spell stuttered. And even then, if they main phase Stagger Shock on Ninja, on the rebound, if they target like one of my fairies, I'll just snap it back, then draw another card. Now they drew a third land, which is, totally reasonable. Can't expect them to brick on lands forever. But now I guess they have options. They haven't... We only know that Stagger Shock and Lava Spike are still in their hand. They've got 3 other cards. So I guess we'll just have to sit and wait to see what they're going to play. Curse of the Pierced Heart. Now that's kind of interesting. That's one of the... obviously it will eventually be one of their bigger burn spells, but it's also one of their slower options. And it's possible that they're playing around days, like a second days here, which, I can respect that. But I'm honestly pretty happy, because just drawing another card from Ninja seems great. So I think I need to keep up all my stuff here. Theoretically, I could preordain, and then if they cast a spell on like one of my creatures, I can snap, and then still have mana for Spell Stutter Sprite. But then if I try and kill something, if they try and kill Ninja, for example, I try and snap it, then they kill the Ninja again. Then I don't get to untap, and then I don't get to Spell Stutter Sprite something. Since we know there's Stagger Shock, and Snap sort of counters both the rebound and the other side, I'm gonna go with leaving up everything. Especially since this Rift Bolt's coming down, I can counter it with Spell Stutter. And then if they try to blow me out with the Stagger Shock, then I can snap. Since presumably, if they were trying to force it through, they might kill Spell Stutter Sprite. But then again, actually no, because they can play around that. They can like Stagger Shock this thing. Yeah, the way I see it, the more cards that get aimed at my creatures, the better. Since that just gives me extra life, and I have plenty of creatures. Ah, they just let it resolve? That's interesting. They possibly took me tanking on it as a sign that I thought it through and deciding that there's no way that it can go badly for me. Needle Drop. So I can snap my Spell Stutter Sprite here to counter that. That seems like a good idea. We know they know one card in their hand, and they don't want them to draw any more. Like Lava Spike individually is okay, but Needle Drop can obviously draw into like Fire Blast and stuff. And hopefully with my Draw Step, the Ninja, and the Preordain, I'm gonna get to draw into either another Vapor Snag, so I can bounce my Spell Stutter Sprite again, or just another way to counter a burn spell while I finish them off. Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm gonna Preordain first, I think, see if they have 2 things I want. I don't really want this Cataxian Probe. I mean, I can pay 1 blue and don't have to pay a life, but I'd rather just hit like a real different card. Alright, so now I get to play Delver Delver. Actually, no, that was a punt. I should have not done that. I should have, because now I can't actually do the thing that I was specifically mentioning, is Vapor Snag this to my hand and then replay it to counter a spell. Luckily, I can daze Dagger Shock, which is what I was thinking, but there are things I might not want to happen. Like, what if they just have a main deck Electricity or something? That'd be real embarrassing. I mean, they won't. It seems unlikely. But you never know with Pauper what obscure cards are going to turn up and blow you away. Yep. So if I just Vapor Snag this, their spell is countered and does not rebound, and then I can still ninja in to finish them off. And all that sort of thing. Alright, that was a little bit awkward, but time to sideboard. Anyway, so I think it's fairly obvious. We finally get to use our Hydroblasts and Dispel. As for the other things, a null, as far as I'm aware, only hits Curse of the Pierced Heart, which doesn't seem like a good enough thing, considering that we really want to make sure all of our cards trade with one of their cards to keep our life total high. And it's not even good if you draw it late. If they have more enchantments, like if I see them boarding in some other artifacts or enchantments, then I would go for it. But I'm not really excited to try that out. And Ninja obviously showed itself to be quite good that game. Gitaxian Probe, not so great. While I still need a certain amount of, cantrips to make my deck function, paying 2 life is quite bad, and just like 1 blue mana to look at the hand isn't great either. I'm sort of willing to keep like 1 in, because knowing their hand is especially valuable in this matchup, since you know exactly which burn spells to play around. And what else? Well, they have a low enough land count that even though all their cards are cheap, Daze is still great. And like Vapor Snag is fine. It's not super. And they usually do have something like Electricity post sideboard. So like Fairy Miscreants aren't that great either. But we need to keep our creature count fairly high. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and take out Vapor Snag. Like, I do really want Vapor Snags when they play a Thermal Alchemist. But there's really bad against Keldron Marauders. So I'll take these out. I think I'll put in just put in like 1 probe just to make sure my spell count is high enough. So this hand is weird. I think I'm gonna keep it, since we do have a lot of 1-drops to draw. Spellstutter Sprites are usually pretty good against them, and if we need to, we can Daze on turn 1. Alright, gonna snap out this Fairy Miscreant, so to speak. I would prefer not to have to Daze something. Like, if they just don't have a permanent, then I'll just never Daze. But if it's like a Curse of the Pierced Heart or something, I feel like we have to Daze it, otherwise it's just gonna, deal us 5, 6, 7 damage or something like that over the course of the game. Like, the nice thing about Curse of the Pierced Heart is it sort of lets them refocus their deck. Like, they can start using their burn spells as removal spells, like their lightning bolts and stuff, because they know the curse will get the opponent dead eventually. Here, I don't want to tap out or anything, because I just want to try and hit cards with my Spell Start Sprite. I'll take basically anything. Yeah, just trading, getting like any 2-for-1s against this deck is great. And I still have Days backup. And if they were to try and like Stagger Shock or something, that's fine. I guess maybe the worst case scenario is if they play like land Curse of the Pierced Heart and then just have a hand full of Electrickeries and things. Okay, I think I would prefer to keep my clock in play. It does tend to be the case that the burn decks are actually less dangerous post sideboard, since they're boarding like Electrickery, maybe some Pyroblasts, so they actually have less reach, which I kind of think might be just a mistake, since like the blue decks are just much better at playing this sort of game where we interact. Thus, like maybe like the Pyroblasts and stuff, while good against like Mulldrifters and stuff, they're maybe even not what you even want against a deck like this. As counterintuitive as it seems. I think we're in super strong shape at this moment. I see opponent wasn't a big fan of that sequence. Yeah, Incinerate on my creature, not a big problem. Since that just puts them at fewer cards, and like their only way to kill me is with the burn spells. I'll just play out Fairy Miscreant, draw a card, and hold up Spell Starter Sprite again, I think. If they want to, bolt my other Fairy Miscreant to prevent me from drawing a card, I'll be completely on board with that plan. Chain Lightning my face. Yep, I don't even need to do anything about that. I'm such a high life total. I'd rather counter something that pulls them back into the game a bit more. Like they only have one card left. I guess their last card could be another Electrickery. But even if it is, I think we are miles ahead. Like if they have no cards and we have all these. Well, well, so we managed a 4.5 one. Basically, I mean, this deck is so powerful. It's so unbelievable how good, Delver and Daze and all that sort of stuff are. It's pretty outrageous. But yeah, there we go. That's this deck. Feel free to tune in next week for another different deck. Or, check out my YouTube channel for all the previous Pauper matches also. With some extra things thrown in for fun. See you next time.